welcome to CLCI Live.
Yes.
We're back.
If you're watching,
You're back.
make sure you like and subscribe and join the conversation. We'd love to hear from you. But all of those things, please like, subscribe. If you want to know,
Chat with us.
Chat with us or have more information about coaching and coaching related topics. Words are hard.
Top 6.
Then make sure that you subscribe to our channel and join in the conversation.
Yeah, last time we saw you guys, it was Halloween, and we were mostly dressed up.
Yeah, we took a week off. We're back now. We'll be just doing some. I don't think we have themes.
No, we're just phoning it in until the end of the year.
Yeah.
End of topics.
Because won't be.
Why not?
As consistent with the topics until after the new year.
Which is fine.
It's great.
I don't know if grouping them into monthly topics really has any effect. It's for us.
It's for us, an organization on the channel side of things.
So we have a channel on YouTube. We have a channel.
Yeah, of course we do.
Oh, I guess that
couldn't be here without it.
And we can always revisit the same coaching categories and stick more videos in that.
It's
those
for
bins.
us, really.
It's for us and it's for you.
Okay, so let's talk about today's topic, shall we?
Yeah, it's why people won't change, and how you are probably making it worse if you try to make them change.
This is how all of us do these things. We tend to wish somebody would change, and often the approaches we take to facilitate that change end up doing more harm than good. And that person ends up not changing, and then we wonder what the heck is wrong with that person.
Yeah,
why can't they change?
Why can't they just be different?
Why can't they just be a different human being?
Which
they clearly don't care.
Probably not. Which is fine. We'll find out that it's fine that they don't care. But let's break this down for a second. I'm a little skeptical of even the first part of this title. Do you think people can change?
I know you don't, probably. I mean, of course they can.
Yeah.
I've changed. I changed. Yes, 1,000%.
Why do you think that I think otherwise?
I don't know, because you are contrarian.
You are pessimistic about human beings.
Okay. Maybe cynical. I'm pessimistic about the world. I'm cynical about human beings, but that's still not actually a reason why you think that way.
I mean, why do you?
What
do you think, Anthony?
I think people can change.
Oh, okay.
Wow! Ooh, mark this on our calendar.
Yeah, I'm about to throw in the twist here. Like, as the words were leaving my mouth, I was like, I think people can change, but it's not in their control whether they change or not. Like,
Oh my god.
That's the part where I'm like,
what type of life would it be if you couldn't have the ability to change?
Yeah. I mean, serious.
you're just like your immutable character. Well, some people, I'll just.
Well,
put
what are
this out
you
there.
talking about change there, Mr. Anthony?
I'll get to that, because that can mean a lot of things. There are some people out there in this world of ours who honestly believe that we have an immutable soul or essence that is our character,
Mm-hmm.
and that does not change. We are who we are. That's true from the moment we're born until the moment we die.
So,
And
like,
all the other things that can change are like surface level kind of stuff, but who you are as a character deep down does not change. I'm not saying.
So I have a question about that, though.
Yeah. Sure.
Like, so what creates that character? Like what? When does that happen? How is that put into place? Like,
so that's like a question of like, are we born blank slates, or
like nature versus nurture?
Yeah,
like,
sure. Nature versus nurture would be one way to put it. I'm not saying
oversimplification.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, I think you overgeneralized it too, because there can be an innate essence, but there can also be a lot of things that can change. Your whole personality can change. That's not essence. right? It's the fact that, like, for example, if like Brooke is extremely artistic, that's not ever like that's fixed. You know, I don't know what's fixed for me other than I like to move and express myself, and that's never going to change
Okay.
unless something would
But that's
happen.
artistic too, Jen.
Here's a really easy way to illustrate it for most people, and this doesn't really change despite like your ideology on the subject. I'm just putting it out there. Whether you identify as a man or a woman, your gender. That for most people, I'm not trying to get into politics, I'm trying to just give an example of a thing that for hundreds of years people have thought as immutable.
We're saying like biologically female versus biologically male.
Even that distinction.
I don't think we should be talking about this.
Yeah.
I,
Steer clear.
I'm not
Let's
saying one way or
stop
the
and
other.
start over again. I think this is like, let's go take us
I
off.
think
This is-
we've gone
How
off
about
the
tall
cliff
or
too
short? We
far.
can use that
This is-
analogy.
I understand that. I'm just giving an example that most people, maybe not us.
Yes, we know you cannot change, Anthony. We've got that already.
That's not what I'm trying to say. I'm just giving an example of something that many people tend to view as an immutable part of their lives when they're children to when they are old and pass away. That part of them typically does not change. However, how they express that gender identity might change. The ways that they do that might change as they are children to adults to, somewhat older. That is obviously not the case because we do see examples of people changing their gender identity and expression. But that is one of the things that I can grab as an immediate example that a lot of people see as a fixed part of their personality.
But the description that you gave is also an outside opinion, not an inside opinion, meaning the person who feels, if we go into the technical terms, that you were in that position, they don't feel that they're in that position. They already feel that their identification is this position. So it's an argument that's not arguable.
Well, yeah, because they feel that it's fixed.
Inner
It's not-
experience versus outer experience.
My inner experience, I'll just say this, my inner experience is that I am a man and I don't,
I'm not so sure. No, I was kidding.
thanks. And I don't believe that will change.
Okay.
I don't think that there's any way anybody could convince me
Ooh,
otherwise.
I wonder if I can challenge that in certain ways.
Sure, and we can.
I mean, I do feel like there's a way for me to
For the listener, down a really, what's an argument? Slippery slope direction. I don't even know what we're talking about.
I know
I know we're trying to get to why people won't. There are some parts of a person that won't change, probably, and maybe parts that are more flexible to change, that are maybe more surface level parts.
I mean, I don't think we have to make this a definition or distinction. Period.
Yeah.
Like I don't feel like we have to say there are parts of people that can't change in their heart. Sure, that is true, but that can be different for different people in different ways, right? Like for one person, there might be one part of them that is flexible, and there might be another part that's inflexible, regardless of what that may be and what that may look like. And so, in one case, it might be that the flexibility is gender, and then the inflexibility is something else. You know what I mean? So I think that we don't have to make that blanket definition and apply it to everybody, but we can safely say there are things about ourselves that we will not or would not change, and things that we
do not want to change despite other people wanting otherwise. So people who are oppositionally opposed to authority or feeling like they are being told to do something, part of that cells that they don't want to change is feeling like they have freedom to do whatever they want. And if they're told, well, you have to do X, Y, and Z, or you have to be X, Y, and Z, they immediately put up that
I'll definitely
wall.
tell you, like ADHD, that's like part of one of the things in ADHD that happens is like we have, we can, when somebody tells us to do something, we can be rebellious against it. Like we'd be like, because you told me I don't want to do it anymore, because now you have taken away my and the ability for me to be autonomous or have done it myself.
And the opposite too. If you tell me I can't do something, you're in big trouble.
Yeah.
Because I'm going to do it.
That's also very true as well. Very true as well.
So how does this fit in then when we would like something about someone else to change? And
before you jump ahead, I have a question.
Mhm.
May I ask a question, Anthony? How do we typically ask or encourage change in others? Like what are your approaches? Or what approaches have you used in the past? And were they successful or weren't they?
Well, I fail in my personal life and I do well in my professional life. So I would like to even
us
the playing
more
field.
about that.
I mean, personally, when I have, close relationships with people and, they show any desire at all that they're unhappy or suffering and might want to change. However, I respond to that never helps, ever. Never once have I actually helped someone I care about change. How ironic.
Great marketing for you as a life coach.
No, that's fair.
No, but doesn't that show how much I've had to learn in order to coach?
Yeah.
It's like coaching is the opposite of my go-to communication. It is completely opposite.
Yeah, and it's funny because I always feel weird introducing it outside, like to family and stuff outside, like of coaching space, because I'm like, I'm not gonna want to like secret ninja coach them, you know what I mean? So like I just react the way I react, although I do ask more questions now for sure than I used to. But what ways have you tried in the past? I mean, I've certainly will try telling somebody, asking somebody, explaining to somebody why they should do something.
Yeah, it's all of the above. But my grandpa used to say this weird thing to me when I would complain about this. And he would say, Jen, you can't be a hero in your hometown. And I guess what that means is like when you're too close, when people know you for whatever reason, they don't want to allow you to impact or influence them. But, for people who don't know you, they might be ready and on board for that influence. And they're seeking it. They're looking for it. And when you come around, you essentially become the hero. Not literally, but that's kind of the phrase. So I tend to agree. Yeah, I tend to agree.
How about this? How do parents tell their kids to do things?
Positive
Or change
reward,
their
negative
behavior.
reward.
You got to show appreciation, I think, is a big part of this.
I mean, I know.
Let's
Working
ask how about we ask the only parent in this?
Lisa.
Yeah.
Yes, positive reward, negative reward,
A negative reward. What is another name for negative reward?
punitive.
Time out.
That's actually a really fun double speak way of saying that you're being punished. You're being negatively rewarded.
Well, I know.
Grounding.
Like with cats. With cats, it's not negative or like it, but it's you just you have to ignore the behavior altogether, because any energy you give to the behavior is going to reward it in some way, reward them. So the best practice is always to just ignore completely. Like they get very bothered.
Don't use cat psychology.
Yeah.
Okay, so rewards and punishments is one way we can try to change someone's behavior, which implies that you have a certain amount of power over them to.
Yes, so that works for children only, most likely.
Right? Yeah.
Well,
I mean, I know a lot of
the workspace
women that will reward and punish behavior with their significant others. I have seen that happen before.
I think you could still show appreciation by just pointing out, hey, I really like that shift that you made since the last time we visited it. And then I guess punishment, maybe not the best idea, but like you can just stop hanging out with them for a while. Give yourself some space. What
do we think about people who aren't aren't changing typically? Like, what do people think? Like, if you've got somebody
Stubborn, pig-headed.
that is just doing the same
They're
destructive
not willing.
behavior
They're
over
not
and over.
wanting to. They're not, interested in making those changes.
I have someone in particular that I'm thinking of, and I think that this person is unfortunately just not in enough pain to where change is a priority. And that scares me because they're really walking a thin line with that. Of what's the rock bottom?
What can you do, Jen, to introduce more pain in this person's life?
No.
Uh,
I don't think there is. I mean, sorry about that. But we tend to think things. I mean, we think that we tend to think that they're broken. They are stuck in some kind of victim loop. We tend to think a lot of these things. And today's topic is kind of an opportunity for us to reframe those assumptions that we make about people who aren't willing to change or aren't willing to change their behavior. I think we can share what is the saying? It was so good.
This is from the Psychologist that we based some of this live off of. Stuart Ablon. On reframing the battle of wills. He said something of the effect that,
Is it skill, not will?
It's skill, not will, and people do well if they can, not just if they want to.
mm-hmm.
So, part of this,
let's really let that sink in. People do well if they can,
not just if they
if they want to. So, if we remove that if they want to part out and think people do well if they can. And how does that adjust the thought process?
Well, sometimes they can't, or they don't have the ability to.
Just incapable.
So more compassion for me shows up.
Same.
Yeah.
Learning has to occur for it can.
Yeah. It takes it from that will centered to the skill centered. Like they may not have the skill set to do different.
This is something I've seen on social media and TikTok concerning like relationships or dating. Common thing is like, well, if they wanted to, they would. That's why I'm not having, I'm not getting what I want out of a relationship.
I hate that.
If they wanted to, they would.
If they only had the skill set to not cheat.
Yes. Only they had the skills to not do that. Sorry. Well, it's more so like doing things for me. Like taking someone out on dates or showing acts of kindness or, some sort of bonding. If they wanted to, they would. This puts the onus on the other person. Like, well, they just need to change. They just need to want to do that. What Ablon is saying with this, they do well if they can, not just if they want to, is that there's some block in the way. Now we're introducing like a little bit of coaching relationship. There's some
great coaching topic.
Either skill gap or block that is preventing them from being able to do this well. Where if that was filled or the block was removed, then they might do it and they might do it well.
Because ultimately, every person really wants to do things well, right? Like a lot of people, they pick something up and they stop doing it. Why? Because they don't do it well at first, right? Like it doesn't come naturally, and so it's harder for them to learn, and it's harder for them to pick up that skill set. And for a lot of people, that is an opportunity to drop things. I read an article recently about creativity and artists, and how we often think of creativity and artistry as a gift, like it's this gift thing that some people have and some people do not have. But in truth, it is a skill just like any other thing, that where for one person probably came a little easier, and so they developed that skill, kept utilizing that skill until it became a part of their identity and became ingrained in who they were. And so but it can in fact be learned. as with anything else. So I think that this is really an interesting kind of topic or thought process, because what it does is allows it takes you out of that people aren't capable, and brings it into this realm of, okay, what has to happen for that person to be successful, because everybody wants to do well at the end of the day. Nobody leaves their house and goes, I really want to suck at life today. Really hope I have the worst day. I fail at everything.
Ever.
And I go home and I just go to sleep and hate my life. Like, that's not how people get up and want to live.
I might have done that once or twice, but generally most people don't live that way. But it also takes away, it prevents you, either as a coach or just as someone, from writing off the other person as either just being resistant or unmotivated or lazy. We're shifting away from desire and just putting it towards, okay, is there a regulation issue that's going on? Is there a communication break? What are they prioritizing more than the thing that I want? Or is there a lack of emotional awareness either on their part or on our part, like as a interpersonal relationship?
I mean, and some of the interesting examples this psychologist gave is because he was working with kids, younger, but teenagers, things of that nature. And with some of them, it's a matter of like their communication skill set hasn't been developed enough to a point for them to be capable of doing X, Y, or Z. But up to that point, everybody just wrote them off as a problem kid. You know what I mean? But the reality is what they needed was to learn how to communicate. And it's interesting because this can apply to adults, because it's not like all of us, grew up with the perfect, well-rounded skill set and we all got it all figured out at some point by 22 or what have you. That's not the case. We all have parts of us that probably could stand to be polished and learned and helped out and grown.
I liked how he described, he just really described coaching in a lot of what he was talking about.
Yeah.
The particular part is he really dove into empathy and what sometimes people think empathy is versus what it really is. And that, that I care for you empathy versus I'm going to listen to you empathy. And I'm really going to listen to what you're saying, which means you have to develop patience in the process and not feel like it has to be rushed. I liked what he said about that one young man who was struggling with, or he wasn't struggling. He wasn't even attempting to try and have a conversation. He didn't care. That's all he said, until that doctor decided to spend time with him and just go, well, what does that mean? And it came out that he didn't really, nobody gave him the time of day. He didn't really know how to share that information. And so through the process, which was enlightening, it provided a space with patience for the young man to share some information.
I think, in his case, it was like he had a slower processing of like his ability to hear something, to coming to a determination about how he felt about it was longer than the average person. And so the easiest response for him was just to say, I don't care. But the reality was that he just needed a longer period of time to figure out how he felt about something. But most people did not give him that time period. And so it was a processing issue in that case. And so that's, I think it's really endearing. And it makes you go, oh man, you just wish that these kids had somebody to have this approach with them. In the realm of empathy, I love that he defined empathy as understanding.
Yeah, which is a different framing of it than we hear a lot of times. And to me, that actually makes the most sense. To describe empathy as simply understanding, because there are many times in coaching sessions where I believe that I am displaying empathy, but I am not feeling with them. I'm grounded, but I am understanding their perspective. I'm understanding why they are experiencing what they're experiencing, and that's coming through, but I am not feeling with them. So
Yeah,
I like that.
I love that too. And it like takes the need to feel like you have to agree or disagree and just puts it into this much more neutral space where I'm just trying to understand you and your experience. And that's really what coaching is, right? At the end of the day, that's a big element of coaching is that curiosity and so that we are able to understand peace, which I think is very important.
But with coaching, it's really more the individual understanding versus us understanding. Yes, we are there to understand, but it's not for our benefit. It's for our client benefit to understand what they're saying so that they can expand on where they want to develop.
Yes, but I also think it's good to take this outside of the coaching space and like if you approach things with the people, okay, let me understand what's happening with you.
Mm-hmm.
Can open up probably a lot of opportunity to figure out why people aren't doing the things they want to do or set out to do.
Yeah. Going back to that skill versus will thing, I love it, but I do get to a point where I challenge the idea of like, okay, if it's a lack of skill, then the person has to be willing to work on that skill, or that person has to be willing to receive resources to help them, hone that skill. And so for me, it goes right back to will, right? Yeah. So if you don't have the skill, you have to have the will to want the skill.
I think that's, if we circle it back to coaching, I think that's where this concept of like emotional relevance really comes in. So like, if you have a person that if it's two people battling, I want him to do to do X, Y, or Z, and he won't do it. If he doesn't have the will to learn how to do that, then we're not going to get anywhere. But if you take it and you circle, so let's just take an example. Mind you, Anthony is amazing. He does the dishes more than I do. I do far less around this house than this human being does. So I'm not. This is just an example. It is not truth.
I see where you're going. How about we just switch the roles?
No, because then I might take it personally. So let's keep going.
Understood.
Right. So like if it was something along the lines of I want Anthony to do the dishes, right? And I would like for the dishes to be done every other day, and for some reason it is not happening, and he isn't willing to do that. We would have to have a conversation around what is in the way. Why can't you? What's wrong with you?
Can we also, we'll take that example because I want to jump back to what the guy said, Ablon. He sort of gave 3 different like routes you could take when you're at an impasse like this. There's plan A, there's plan C, and then there's plan B, which is like his ideal situation. And plan A is typically imposing your will. You are imposing it somehow. So, Brooke,
you said you would do it. Why didn't you do it? What's wrong with you? Why are you so messed up?
Okay, that's one way to impose your will. What about with like punishments or rewards?
Since you won't do the dishes, you have to eat off the dirty plates. I'm not doing it for you.
Not exactly a punishment if I'm not willing to do the dishes.
But I mean, it might be if they're really gross. Like
you will have to take out the trash for the year.
More things that I'm not going to end up
doing.
Okay, so then there's plan C, which is avoidance. So what would that look like in the situation?
It would probably just look like me just doing them myself and not talking to you about it.
You're just disengaging or dropping the expectation.
And like just going, forget it.
Okay.
I don't care anymore. Whatever.
Or if
it's hopeless.
If it's me, it'd be like, well, let's talk about this some other time. I don't want to talk about this today. Let's talk about this when I want to talk about it on my own terms. And then it never happens. So now we're at plan B. This is the ideal situation in Ablon's framework when we're trying to manage, different wills and expectations, which is the collaboration. So what would we do instead?
And so as we move into this, what's interesting is if you take this and you look at a situation like if we're in corporate coaching or couples coaching, or this is a great sort of tool set or framework to use in that situation that a coach can introduce. Like, well, one of them's avoiding, one of them is blaming. How about we try this instead, this collaboration, which is, I notice you're not capable, or you have not. I noticed that the dishes didn't get done again today, and I am just wondering, if there is what is happening or why that might be, what's going on. I don't know.
Okay, and then
or what's making it difficult.
Here's the impasse that I see with this, and this has to do with coaching too, but in any other relationship, is the measure of trust. Because you might be saying this to me in full good faith. Me, the receiver, might be like, oh, she's doing a sneaky plan A.
Yeah.
Like, she is trying to just get what she wants.
Well, that's where like the reassurance piece comes in. Because he talks about this reassurance piece where he's like, you, and it may need to come up in situations where you go, I promise you, I'm not asking with the intention of being upset or
more
angry with you.
Right here.
I'm asking so that we can actually like work on a plan that works for both of us. I promise you I'm not angry or upset. I instead would like to come together and figure out if there is some kind of compromise that we can both come to that would work so that it can get done and I'm not angry or upset. Like that, like reassuring was part of the process.
So, I might have had some trepidation because I feel like, oh, Brooke's mad or upset. This is like just leading to something where she just gets what she wants now.
In all reality, I would say I love you. Because whenever I have something that didn't happen, that's how I start. I go, Anthony, I love you.
Which is now I can never trust. I can never trust her.
It's like my way of telling him I love you. I'm not really that mad at you, and I'm not going anywhere.
But we see what's going on. We're using empathy to try to see the other person's interests, or what's happening, what's getting in the way, what is preventing you from, managing this gap that we have. And in coaching, this could look quite differently because most of the time, by the time you have finished Coaching 101, we've moved past imposing your will or setting your expectations as a coach or saying, hey, I'm the coach, I know best, you're going to do X, Y, and Z. I expect this to be done in this amount of time. That's more of a relationship of like
parenting,
maybe. Like if I'm a consultant and you hired me to work with you, or boss, and they're employees, we've kind of moved past that, but it can show up in sneaky ways, such as like when you're doing the G part of go learn, or the O, actually the ownership part. You might say something like, hey, last week when we had the session, you said that you were going to go and do a 1 mile run. Why didn't you do that?
Well, we wouldn't say, why didn't you do that?
Yeah, no, that.
Yeah, or you might be inclined to say something like, you agreed to do this action plan, so you have to follow through. You gave me your word.
We would not say that.
No, we would not do that.
No, I mean, obviously not. But these are ways that it could sneak up in a coaching session when you're an inexperienced coach.
And that would be the imposed.
I see what you're saying.
Okay.
Yeah, so this would be the coach implicitly imposing their will. Mm-hmm. You said you were going to do this.
Easy
onus
sneak
is
up
on you.
Moments, yeah.
I'm the coach. I'm the one. Right. I don't have to do the things for you. You're the one who has to do the things. So why aren't you doing it?
Coming off as authority.
Right. And being attached to them following through with what they say they're going to do, instead of allowing them to experience the journey of what happens when they don't follow through with what they say they're going to do. Because that's part of it.
Or it might even, the coach might be inclined to think of this as a motivation problem or desire problem. Well, you just don't want it enough. How can we or you make yourself want it more?
I also want to remember that we did not circle back to the will thing that Jen had brought up. We sort of jumped away from that. We have to come back to that at some point.
Okay.
I have my own crazy thoughts on will.
I know you do.
I'll just keep those to myself for now. So that's how like imposing will and control and coercion might show up in an amateur coaching relationship.
So but let's say though, like in that example with Jen and
Mhm.
the dishes, right?
Yeah.
And we're playing. Anthony does the dishes. I'm terrible at doing dishes. I put them away sometimes. But what if Anthony said, well, I don't want to. I don't want to do the dishes.
If you want to do the dishes, if you want the dishes clean so bad, why don't you do it?
And so like there's probably no way for me to like, I don't know how I would get him to want to do the dishes. My solution would be to hire a dish cleaner.
No.
Here's
what I'm going to do now, because the reality is the situation was reversed.
Yeah.
Brooke, I know we both don't want to do the dishes.
Yeah,
and I don't want to buy paper plates, and I don't want to.
God, no, don't want to do that either.
I don't want this to be a money.
It's embarrassing.
A problem solved with money.
Uh-huh.
And it's something we both don't enjoy doing.
So how about we split the responsibility?
How would you like to split it?
I will put the dishes away.
Well, I'm also.
You load the dishwasher. This is our actual deal.
Which doesn't happen.
I know I often do not put the dishes away.
Okay. What's getting in the way of you putting the dishes away?
Desire, want, time, energy.
I also don't want to put away the dishes.
I understand.
So, how can you help me out? I do things that I don't necessarily want to do. How can you do things that you necessarily don't want to do? We're not doing a very good job at this.
I can on some days, not on
Okay. Perfect. So we found out it doesn't actually work.
I'll do the dishes for you guys.
Thank you, Jerome. Did you want to live with us? We're going to have a spare room very soon. Okay, well, we'll work on our own relationship problems another time. Brooke doesn't even want to try to make this work as an example for live. See, I do the dishes because I love her.
Yeah.
There was someone who would kind of on a similar theme. So the trash would get taken out, but nobody would ever put a trash liner in the trash can. And it was annoying to her. And man, was it annoying to her that, the trash got taken out, but it would never get a liner put back in. And then inevitably, people would throw trash in and there's no liner. And
I know. We've had that. I mean, I'm the one that will inevitably throw the trash in, and then I look and I go, shoot. And then for a second I go, could I get mad at Anthony? And I go, no, because he took the trash out and I didn't, and I don't want to take the trash out. So I'm going to walk over and grab a bag and put it in and keep my mouth shut. That's what goes through my head.
Which is what she said. I don't have a problem. I don't have a problem even just putting the trash liner in. I just have an issue with people throwing the trash in there and then just leave it in and walk.
No one puts a liner in it.
No, yeah, that happens at the studio, and then and it's like
then it gets gross and there's like liquid.
We spent, like whatever time. I don't really remember. I'm just gonna say, let's say it was 40 minutes talking about how her feelings and how the process happened and what occurred and how she interacted with it and what her part of it is, and to the end of it where she decided, if I just add trash liners to the bottom of the trash can, I don't have a problem just putting it, putting the liner over and correcting that issue. And all of the angst that she went through prior, the upset, the years of being upset, and the year to finally come to her own collaboration of what would work for her was, while on the scale of things, life and death, it wasn't that, but it gave her such a relief to come up with that repair of a moment, so that she wouldn't have to relive that experience any longer. That's a learning. That's a learning on what she is able and capable of doing and willing to do to solve something that really was irritating to her. So that's kind of a story of what you guys were trying to do.
One of the things I remember the psychologist said was, when you try to motivate someone externally, you decrease the potential for them to have internal motivation, or it was something along the lines of that. Like that's actually destructive to identifying someone's internal motivation, which is going to be much more significant than if you even are able to externally motivate them. You're essentially like doing the person a complete disservice by trying to externally motivate someone. I found that to be fascinating.
I think it's like the difference between like, I'm doing this because if I don't, they're going to get mad at me. You know, my significant other is going to be mad at me. Like that would, for me, is an example of an external motivation. Like I'm doing it because if I don't, he's going to yell at me and get mad.
Oh.
Uh-oh, it froze right on Anthony's face. Do you see his face? Oh my God.
Take a picture, Jerome.
You got it, Jen?
I got it. That is hilarious. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Well, that's it. They're froze like this.
Yeah.
Anthony is permanently like this.
Yeah. So what else did you? Well, Jerome, we haven't heard from you. What was your take on today's information?
I think. Well, should we wait for final thoughts? I can kind of dip back into what we were talking about.
Yeah.
What came across my mind? We were speaking about skills. It's funny. It was kind of a joke. I just wanted to mention. I've got roommates, and you just got. I love them, but you got to learn to be okay with a lot of things having roommates. So when it comes to washing dishes, I am the guy that does it because I'm willing and also capable. They do a terrible job every time. So I just decided, hey, if it's going to get done properly, I got to be the one to do it. So that's just something.
Do you trade something else? Meaning, do you pick up the slack there where they pick up the slack otherwise?
I told you I'm like house mom around here, so it's okay. Helps me grow.
But is it your choice because it brings the most peace and sustainability to the environment that you're in?
Absolutely. Yeah. I really, if I don't like it, I got to leave. So.
Right.
That much, if I don't like it that much.
Oh, correct. I was yelling at Brooke for a little bit.
Oh, yeah. I was giving an example of an external motivator versus an internal.
Well, what's the internal?
Like an internal motivator could be, I want to do this because I feel good when I am, pulling, doing my part. I feel happy when I know that I have contributed to my part in this living situation. And I also like to eat off of clean dishes and have a clean kitchen. So like that is, yes, much more motivating, actually much more healthy motivation than my partner's going to yell at me.
But both can be useful, I would imagine, and sometimes.
Yeah, but I think one can be a lot more destructive than the other can, for sure. Anthony doesn't yell at me, by the way. Thank goodness.
Yeah.
We do have a moment captured, Anthony, that we will reveal it to you later.
That's awesome. I'm glad I jokingly made a face for half a second and then it froze on that.
It froze on the face. We got it.
So earlier I was giving the example in a coaching session of what it would look like if we were trying to impose our will as a coach, even surreptitiously or subtly trying to do so. That was plan A. Plan C is when we're avoiding the topic as a coach altogether. We're not imposing our will, nor are we actually collaborating. What would avoidance look like maybe as a coach?
Resentment.
Skipping O.
Aggressive.
Not asking about the things that they are showing signs of discomfort around,
Yeah.
right? Just allowing that and then moving past it because you don't want to go there.
Some of it might be strategic. Some of it might be like, I'm noticing something, but my client's
Of
on a
course.
roll.
Yeah.
Well, I'll revisit this another time.
Sure, of course.
Other times it's like, oh, this feels like it might be challenging as a coach, and I'm not ready to do that yet as a coach. I don't feel comfortable challenging my client, so I'm going to skip past this.
And the difference between those two is one is client centered
Yep.
and one is coach centered.
Yes.
And we should be client centered. So
Yes.
So if you're avoiding a topic as a coach, it's best to evaluate and think about what did you do so strategically
Right.
for the client's benefit, or did you do so because you were uncomfortable?
for your benefit.
For your benefit.
Which in which case, that's when you bring in, another professional to work in that direction. And so it's not about avoiding it; it's about to, really.
I am not equipped.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I would refer.
Mm-hmm.
And then finally, plan B, which is the collaboration part. When I was listening to this podcast, I was like, he's just describing coaching.
Yeah.
Yes, same.
It's coaching by another name. But
Yeah.
it's also, you were genuinely curious, and you generally are going into this with a goodwill
Yeah.
because you care about the other person to some degree. And you care about their thoughts, their feelings, their emotions, what outcomes that they have. You care about those things, and you are not just trying to sneakily impose your will.
Mm-hmm.
So this works great as a coach because really you are just there as a coach. When they were doing the podcast and they're giving these examples, I was thinking to myself, this must be really hard in these sorts of these top-down institutions, school, a workplace, because it's implied that there is some other goal to be had, that regardless of how you feel, if you are the client or the student or the person in the situation where somebody wants something from you and you don't necessarily want to do that, it's harder to build that trust. In coaching, it's a little bit easier because ideally someone is coming to you for coaching help and they are open and willing to accept the coaching. So it's a little bit easier to bridge that gap for collaboration. But what happens then when, let's take the example of the client said they were going to do something, they were going to achieve some sort of goal or some sort of milestone, and then they didn't. And instead of saying, well, why didn't you, or you need to follow through with this, what could we say instead as a coach?
Tell me about what happened for you. Genuine curiosity, no judgment.
Why is that helpful for our clients, framing it that way?
Because it's free from judgment. They can just
it's free from judgment, and it's an invitation rather than a why didn't you do that. That's
rather than an accusation, right?
Yeah.
It's like this you know what? It's this like freedom of like these things happen. There's no, it's okay. There's not a consequence. There's no consequences in this room, right? With me as a coach for you not having done it. Instead, it's just an exploration of what happened and is it even important? Like for that client, the client might say at the end of the day, I figured out that was important. That wasn't relevant. Not even something I need to do right now. I would rather do this. And that could be the answer. And that we're okay, cool. Right? Yeah.
And so also Ablon describes, what is happening is not a will thing, it's a skill gap. There's a skill issue going on. Some of the skills that we can, I wouldn't say we teach it as a coach, but we help build these skills through coaching and the way that we coach. Some of this could be like emotional regulation, where we as a coach, we're not pressing our clients to give us immediate answers. It is okay if you don't know. We will use, we'll use the silence.
Yes.
Holding the silence is one way that we can help build that skill of emotional regulation by pausing and allowing time for the client to think about their answer. This was in the example with the younger boy in the podcast, where his immediate response was, I don't care. I don't care. Because he didn't think anybody, he thought people wanted immediate answers now, and when he actually needed time to think about his answer. So his immediate default response was, I don't care. Let's just move this aside. But in the example, the facilitator or the teacher or the aide, I can't remember, he said, okay, just give me 30 seconds then.
Yeah.
Just think about this for 30 seconds. Maybe, why don't you care? Why doesn't this matter to you? And then, I'll open for any answer. And then the kid thought about it for maybe like 15, 20 seconds. And then he was able to explain that, well, I just need time to think a little bit. Because I feel like most people, they don't care and they just want an immediate answer. So that's one way the coach can do skill building. Do you guys know some other ways?
I think that in a lot of coaching, it's interesting that you frame it that way, because it is, we are as a client building skills, right? We're learning about ourselves, and we're doing it ourselves, but the coach is sort of facilitating the space to do that. But I just have never thought of it in that way, like in that wording, like, oh no, this is that a client being able to sit down and think about the reason they do the things that they do, or what they want, or all of these things are actually opportunities for them to build a skill. And that skill is being able to identify their motivators, being able to identify their values, being able to, all of these things are skill sets that we learn that come out of coaching that you don't maybe have when you enter into a coaching space.
I would say that thinking is a skill that I have developed through being coached. Through being coached, I have been pushed to think deeper on things than I ever have before. And it's become part of who I am now. Now I'm always coaching myself. I'm always questioning. I'm always going deeper. But I had to learn that. And I learned that through being coached. So to me, thinking is a skill set that you develop for sure.
And it's interesting too. One of the things that I think comes out of coaching is because of that accountability piece that comes up in coaching, because it does come up, it's built in. So like when I set a goal for myself, it's there, and it's there for the rest of my life, at least, for me it is, because a lot of my goals are internal goals. And so it's been a lot about adjusting my internal dialogue, and the way I think about the world or myself in the world. And that's what a lot of my coaching has been around. And so when those old habits come up, there is this moment of, oh, wait, that is that. I don't want to think like that. I want to do this instead. And I pivot and adjust as best I can, right? I mean, it's not perfect every time, but I pivot and adjust as best I can. And that is something that stays with me and doesn't go away. And I think overall it's changed my overall mentality in the world and sort of understanding.
So we started off this conversation with Anthony saying, do people really change? And we've shared several ways and several places where people do change. It answers his question. When we feel we are capable and willing, as Jen brought to our attention, capable and willing to learn and add the learning piece, we can change. We do change. My takeaway.
I love that. Yeah, since it's about time for us to give final thoughts.
I think that's a good wrap up.
Yeah.
Does anybody else have final thoughts?
My final thought is just to pay attention to the skill versus will. And then it's almost like, to me, it seems like a loop, right? So if you have the will, but you don't have the skill, do you have the will to get the skill?
Yeah, right?
Do you have the will to get? That should be every coach's tagline. When you sort of
if you have the will to get the skill, then let's go. Let's do it.
And it can take a long time to develop skills.
Do you have the will to get the skill? And if they don't, well, do you have the skill to get the will to get the skill. So that's a no.
God,
You have
Spinning
we're
now.
getting meta.
the
It's
will to
getting
get the
meta.
skill to get
We
the
gotta
will
stop
to get the
now.
skill. You just keep doing that until they say yes, and then you work on that. Okay, well, that should wrap it up. Thank you guys for showing up. Thank you all for watching. If you're interested in getting the skill to coach people and you've got the will,
Yeah.
we've got the way, which is coaching 101 and coaching 102
Nicely done.
with us. Yes, that was very good on my part. Be sure to take coaching 101 and 102 where you can coach people to achieve the goals that they want and desire and do it in their own way. With that, we will see you guys next week. Goodbye.
Bye.